A little mellow music to bring us in this morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Macgrath. I've been up all night. I got to get some rest. Keith Eggle here for Brian Arts on vacation today, but the rest of us are here with the Macgrath Podcast Network Sunday morning podcast. It's good to have you guys with us. I welcome in my co-anchors today, if you will, Hall of Fame boxing writer and Michael Spink's biographer, Jack Hirsch, and James Martin from down south. And it's a big day in sports today, guys. If you're a New York fan or if you're a basketball fan, I don't know if you're a basketball fan, but the Knicks win their first world championship in 53 years. I was 13 years old. Jack was in his mid-40s probably. And James, I don't know where you were, but
Stork was still flying.
We had it 3 years apart when they originally did it, and society has changed. If you want to compare one championship to the other, it's very difficult because you have social media now. You didn't have it at the time. I mean, when the Knicks originally won the championship in 1969, 1970, it had every bit as big of a buzz as this Knicks championship, maybe even bigger. The Garden was even more intense then than it is now, because then it was purely basketball fans. Now we have all this celebrity nonsense, which is, overkill. To see that's how they try to kind of promote it. The fan base is going crazy, and they're showing all these celebrities at, courtside. But you have social media today, so that makes everything bigger because more people have access to things. You don't have to get your newspaper in the morning the way you did then.
You know something? I gotta bring this up too, because I had heard yesterday, or I guess Friday, that they were going to ban ticket sales from anywhere outside of a 150-mile radius. Well, I'll tell you what, when that game was over, that place was full of Knicks fans, because I can't believe the Spurs fans stuck around for the post-game activities, at least not a lot of them. And there was a lot of noise in that stadium, a lot of Knicks fans in that building last night, not just the celebrities, I got to believe. So kudos to the Knicks fans for finding a way to get in that building last night.
And how did they get on the court after with security? The San Antonio Spurs walked off the court yesterday, and I don't think that was a lack of sportsmanship. It's circumstances. If it was only players and coaches on the court at the end, I'm sure the Spurs would have stuck around, shook hands, and went on their way. But people were storming the court immediately. Do you see the Spurs go off? Because the Knicks are celebrating at that moment. That's their moment, because it was a close game. The outcome wasn't inevitable. That's the difference involved. The Knicks didn't have it won until the final buzzer went off. Even with the 4-point lead, what was one of the players doing, making a half-hearted gesture to block Wemby's shot at the end? Let him make the darn 3 points and the buzzer rings. Don't get anywhere near Wemby. Don't get anywhere near him. But it's what it is.
Good morning, Rick. Brian is on location today, I believe. So maybe we'll get a report from him.
Brian's on assignment.
I'm gonna jump in here and kind of rebuttal what Jack said as far as him not thinking that the Spurs were being sour sports. As much as I rooted for them and I thought, I had them winning the series, you can see the arrogance, a little bit of arrogance in Wemby and the leadership. Everything comes from top, and so from down to the bottom, they follow his lead. And so it's kind of like you said, Jack, talking about my guy and Isaiah Thomas. This kind of looks like that a little bit.
Nothing like it. Isaiah Thomas.
Come on.
The
communication with the post-game communication also kind of leads me to think that Wemby is just not. He doesn't like losing, and who does? But I mean, he lets you know he wears it on his sleeve, and he's like, I'm not a fair sport. I'm a spoil sport when it comes to winning.
Yeah, no, I understand it from that element now that you expanded a little on it with Wemby. Yeah, Wemby is arrogant. Yeah, but more than arrogant, he's immature. I think it's a lack of maturity. After every game, he made it clear that we're the better team. We're going to win this series. They're down 3-1. He says everyone knows we're going to win the series. Well, the Knicks didn't get the memo. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows that. And he's going to keep – and Wemby's the type of guy, his team's going to lose 10 games in a row. They never are, of course. But he's always going to say, we're the better team. We're the better team. We're the better team.
One more rebuttal, Keith, before you go in, Keith.
Good.
I'm going to say that they are the better team. But that being said, I think the coaching was pretty bad. There was no adjustment because they had double-digit leads in almost every game in this series and blew them. And so I just think that and then Wemby, the same guy that's talking all this noise, at the end of this game, this is it. This is for everything. You're passing the ball off. The ball's supposed to be in your hand. You're supposed to be scoring.
Nobody wanted the ball to look like for this.
Nobody wanted the ball at the end.
Well,
I agree.
Wait. The Knicks beat them 2 out of 3 in the regular season, and the 2 wins were by double digits. So when a team beats you 2 out of 3 and their 2 wins are decisive, and then beats you 4 games to 1, they're the better team. Now, you can point to a stat and say the Spurs were leading during 69% of the time, but sports is about closing an opponent out.
Well,
you got to close an opponent
out. The 29 point, I know we haven't talked since that happened. Come on, Jack. 29 points, that could be a debate about whether that's a meltdown or the Knicks coming back. That was a meltdown. That was a complete and utter meltdown.
That wasn't the only one. They melted down in every one of these games. That was just the ultimate meltdown. But this team was, and again, they were out coached, as you said, James, and Rick is talking about here. But he's young as well. This team's young, and I'm not going to say they're the better team either, though, James. I can't sign off on that one because yes, they were led for most of the series, but analytically, the Cavs swept the Knicks too. So it's a scoreboard that matters, and the Knicks were more prepared. They adjusted better, and they were resilient.
I'm not taking any credit away from the Knicks, especially Jalen Brunson. The best, and then there could be a debate about whether or not, as Stephen A. Smith brought it up maybe 2 series ago, if he were to win a championship, will he be the greatest Knick ever? And I know a lot of OAs probably not going to like that, but I mean, look, the 6'1" guard that plays like that.
Jack,
I like to give him a little bit of credit there.
Jack and I debate on who's the greatest, but it's not Jalen. Jalen Brunson's up there. He's in the top 3 right now in my mind, but Walt Frazier will always be the greatest Knick in my mind.
No, Jalen Brunson is not the greatest Knick of all time. I mean, yesterday, it's hard to say that based on yesterday's game. You look at when you put a game like that together, but he's not quite the greatest Knick of all time. It would be like saying Eli Manning's better than Peyton Manning right after.
No, come on. No, you can't even. Those are apples and oranges. Those are definitely apples and oranges. He scored 45, near half of the points of this last game on his back. Come on, Jack. You can't put him in Eli's category.
He absolutely carried the team. But the Knicks team, if you look at this Knicks championship team and just compare it to the other Knicks teams of 54 years ago, they're not as good. But, they're resilient. I mean, if you look at that other team, Clyde Frazier, Earl Monroe, I mean, what a backcourt there. Dave DeBusschere, an ultimate power.
Willis Reed,
great player. I mean, Dick Barnett.
Great bench, too. They played guys off the bench.
Bridges. I mean, it's.
We were talking about the whole team here. I know that Karl Anthony Towns is supposed to be like a man. Where was he this whole series?
If I told you,
he was outstanding. Karl Anthony Towns.
He had 10 rebounds last year, but 2 points. He didn't play the last 2 games. He played about 40 minutes total because of foul trouble. If I told you that was going to happen and the Knicks were going to win both those games, you would have thought it was nuts.
Now, there was one key play at the end of the game with about 25 seconds to go on the missed foul shot. Was it Anobi? I forgot. But Mitchell Robinson snagged the rebound.
That was Anobi. Yeah.
And he quickly threw the ball out, released it. You know, he didn't wait to get fouled, and San Antonio absolutely would have wanted to put Mitch Robinson in the foul line. What a smart play. The anticipation, he got rid of it, I mean, so quickly before San Antonio could react. And you kind of wonder, is this the mental toughness that teams have, that San Antonio maybe was a split second slow in their thinking, knowing they have to foul Robinson, but you got to anticipate. The moment he's coming down with the ball, foul him, make it obvious.
It looked like he was trying to, and he may have fouled him, quite frankly. If you look at the replay, Wemby's all over him, and there's another guy I think was in that shot too.
Yeah.
And he probably was fouled, quite frankly.
You tell me this, the first half, especially the first quarter, Wemby's blocking everything. This guy is incredible. I'm thinking they should make this illegal. I mean, what Wemby's doing, this is crazy. And why couldn't he do that in the second half of the game with the game on the line? Because Wemby kind of gets fatigued.
He gets fatigued for sure.
You know, he's a fighter who could go the distance, but he doesn't have the same punch output in the later rounds of the fight. He's just tired and he's just picking his spots. But I'm going to
go back to what you were saying about OG Anunoby. If I had to give a close second to somebody that can get the Finals MVP, it would have been him, without a doubt. Especially in game 4, that last tip-in shot, he was just everywhere, defensively and offensively. So if it wasn't for Jalen Brunson, he would have been MVP.
Wait, say it again. If you had a vote, would you have voted for him?
Not after.
No, not especially that last.
It's not an issue. Obviously, with the game Brunson had yesterday, but you know, Anunoby is going to be a New York legend because people are going to remember his performance more than they will Brunson's. Actually, they'll look more fondly on Brunson. New York Knicks fans are going to look at Brunson as being the man. That's Jalen Brunson. But when you think back to these playoffs, the signature moment or the signature game won't be Brunson's yesterday. It's going to be Anunoby's, his heroics. You know, it's Pippen in particular at the end of the game. They forget his defensive play. Right before that,
this is what I was going to say. He didn't show up in the box score last night necessarily because he didn't shoot the ball well, but he did a lot of stuff to help the Knicks win even last night. And if Brunson doesn't have that game, then OG probably is the MVP, which I try to tell Jack that this guy is one of the best players in the NBA, and you don't see it because of his role on this team. He's a great
and rest
player.
in peace, Mac. He thought so too as well. Mac thought he was a great player as well.
Yeah, Mac would have picked the Knicks to win it when they were up 3-1. I mean, I love having fun with Mac still. You know, he's looking down with having a laugh.
Our guy can't even rest.
Question to both of you now. The Knicks were much maligned for early in the year for that Mikal Bridges deal. People would keep bringing it up. They gave up, 5 number ones? What a terrible deal. Now that they've won the championship, do you agree with me? No matter what, it's a good deal. No matter what, even if Mikal Bridges at this point it flames out completely, it was worth the deal. The deal was a success.
Jack, you and I talked about this the other day. That the problem with Bridges in perception, people's perception, is that he's not going to go out there and average 20 and 10. Because he's not that's not his role here. His role is to do little things, move. We talk about the comparison to the 70s team. He reminds me of Bradley a lot. You watch him move without the ball all the time. Move without the ball, break into the basket. You know, some nights he's not very good. He disappears, but that's part of just because of how the game flows, I think, too. But he was a big part in this series. Not the MVP, obviously. But 3 of the games, he played excellent basketball, and they may not have won if he wasn't there.
Keith, I agree with you. You got to make sure that you remember. Look back when the big 3 from Miami, when the Heatles, when they played together. The third man, the third option was Chris Bosh. Yeah. But before that, when Chris Bosh was in Toronto, he was the man. He was scoring the points. He was grabbing the rebounds. But he had to find his way in there. Kind of the same way here. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson are the top 2 players there. And so the third option can be considered Bridges.
You kind of wonder, too, Dylan Harper, what's going through his mind? He's been a Knicks fan his whole life. He loved the Knicks until 1 year ago when he was drafted by the Spurs. Then he had to obviously be all in with San Antonio. I know that. But no, Linda, I'm saying that Matt may have picked the Spurs to win this series, but he would have came on board with the Knicks. Maybe he would have picked the Knicks. I don't know, but I
think he would have picked the Knicks in the beginning.
He would have picked the Knicks.
Yeah.
What I will say, what you were talking about. Go ahead, finish what you were saying.
I cut in out of respect to Linda, who we love. Yeah,
for sure.
It was. What was I saying, guys?
Dylan Harper of New York Knicks. Dylan Harper.
Dylan Harper, lifelong Knicks fan. Absolutely loved the Knicks until a year ago, as I said. Gets drafted by San Antonio. So obviously he's completely committed to San Antonio. But you wonder what's going through his mind, because him going back home to New Jersey and seeing all these Knicks celebrations, everywhere he's going to go, he's going to see people celebrating the Knicks. He's going to go into a store. They might not know who he is. He's going to see Nick this, Nick that. And what's his feeling going to be? It's like, I
already know. I have an idea.
But Dylan Harper is going to emerge. My prediction is the leader of that team, not Wemby. Dylan Harper is going to be a star, and he's going to be the leader. The perception is going to be on Wemby. Wemby's always going to be the lightning rod. Wemby's always going to be the more valuable player, hypothetically, because of, his style or what he brings to the table. But Dylan Harper is going to be one of the best players in the game, and I predict he's going to be the leader of that San Antonio team going forward. And it's going to be good for San Antonio because he has a higher level of maturity.
So this is my thing in regards to Dylan Harper. I somewhat agree with you. I think he's going to step up. He's not going to come off the bench. He's going to take they're going to trade De'Aaron Fox. He definitely made some bad decisions in this game.
John Starks last night, for crying out loud.
Oh my goodness, he was terrible. And they're going to all that money they were paying him. They're going to supermax him somewhere else. And Dylan Harper is going to be the guy. But he will not be the number one guy. I mean, it's going to be like, to me, I think they'll be about equal. It'll be like Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It'll be like Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. It'll be those two. It'll be Wemby and Dylan Harper together, and they will be dominant, like you said. I think. And you look at who else had a bad game was Stephon Castle. Man, he was 0 for 7 for a while, and I mean he was terrible.
Just a bad game. I would dismiss it at that. I wouldn't question how good.
No, he's a great player, but I mean it's just that they when it mattered most, they just really. The guard play that you wanted out of them, what they're most known for, is where they failed the most in this last game.
I'd be remiss, and Rick brings it up here. Listen, Mike Brown did a great job with his team. 100% did a great job. My problem, and again, I'll apologize, I guess, to the Knick hierarchy. Did they make a right move? I can't say they didn't. They won the championship. I mean, would they have won with Tibbs? I don't know, but I can't argue the fact that we have a championship and Mike Brown made all the right moves almost every time. Did a great job.
And let me say this. If Brown was the coach last year, I could argue that the Knicks would have been in the finals. How's that?
I don't
know. Wasn't the coach.
It's questionable.
Last year, we don't know. I wouldn't start getting into this. Thibodeau's a good coach, but the bottom line is he didn't use his bench the correct way last year. And then in the playoffs, he shook things up. He started using his bench in a way that they were unaccustomed to. So I don't want to hear all this stuff, with Thibodeau. You quite possibly you're correct. Quite possibly you're correct.
What do you want from me? I said I'll give James Dolan and Leon Rose some credit for hiring Mike Brown. He won a championship. I have no argument anymore. When I'm wrong, I tell you I'm wrong. You know,
yeah. I mean, you're giving kind of like you're admitting you're wrong with an asterisk next to it.
Well, I don't know. Again, we don't know. We don't know. So
in a way, I mean, did you notice who was at the game? This was kind of Charles Oakley coming to the game yesterday in Texas. You're kind of wondering what's going on with Oak. I mean, people keep putting down James Dolan, but I'm going to be honest. If I own the team and one of the former players is coming there and yelling at me and yelling all sort of things, I mean, it doesn't endear me to him, quite honestly. And he trashes Patrick Ewing. How do you welcome a guy back like that?
I don't know, Jack. There's three.
You're an apologist for James Dolan. I don't know why. There's plenty of blame to go on both sides of this. Oakwood didn't handle it well. I'm not going to say he did, but Dolan handled it as bad as you can. You can't ban a guy with that type of ties to the team from the arena forever. You can't.
He's in his feelings. I'm just what I was about to say. There's always three sides to a story. His, and the truth. You got to look at all the sides. You can't just look at it and say that Charles Oakley, fine. Maybe he never grew up, but again, the accolades there. You got to look at it from a bigger perspective. If you're the owner, you're thinking about it from a business standpoint. You know how many fans love Charles Oakley? He's like the toast of the town in there, all in the people's chests that still have marks from his elbows that are knocking people on their butts.
Who's the most liked Nick of all, James?
Ewing. I would say Ewing. Probably.
And Oakley has been trashing Ewing recently in the papers, trashing him, going out of his way.
Well, what is he saying specifically so I can have more context here?
He said Patrick was never leader of that team. Patrick isn't a good person, stuff like that.
Well, that was uncalled for. That's why I said Oak's got to accept some responsibility here. That doesn't get you banned from the Garden for life, though. The fans love Oak. So.
You come to the Garden. You don't have to like the owner. But you can't start yelling things at the owner publicly, start yelling out to him and provoking.
I didn't say he was right.
That's what Oakley did.
I'm not saying he was right, but Dolan handled the aftermath of that very poorly. You can't tell me he didn't. He did.
And this telling me also that he's not that much of a sour sport. He loved his team. The fact that he showed up in San Antonio tells me that a little bit about Oakley, that he's about the team. I mean, not mind you, I agree with you. If he said those things about Oakley about Ewing in the paper, that's terrible. I mean, even if it's true from his perspective, I can't discount that. I mean, I don't know what. I wasn't in the locker room. I wasn't any of this, but I wouldn't have said none of that. I would have kept that in house if I was Oakley. Let's just put it that way. And so,
I the only former player who's been trashing the owner, James Dolan, listen, Dolan might not be the nicest guy. I don't know. So, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because Dolan has been much maligned over the years. Knicks fans are looking for someone to blame. They usually look to blame Dolan, but Dolan has tried to make the right moves over the years, but they haven't been the right moves. Hiring Phil Jackson as an executive was a fiasco. I thought so.
How about Isaiah?
Would have been another match. Isaiah? No. Listen, that was worth taking a chance on Isaiah. Isaiah's a smart guy. You were hoping, but the idea he tried to do some positive things. He hired Donnie Walsh, but unfortunately, James Dolan's loyalty was more to Isaiah than Donnie Walsh. Donnie Walsh wasn't an Isaiah fan, but it showed you that James Dolan has loyalty. He had loyalty towards Isaiah. He hired Larry Brown. He had
loyalty. He made him go coach the bad team he put together. He said, you put this crap together. Now you go coach it because I'm not paying anybody else to do it.
Rose alone, the GM, he didn't fire Leon Rose. He moved on from Thibodeau, and I wouldn't have fired Thibodeau. That's just me. I wouldn't have fired him. But the point is, he felt the team needed to take the next step. And we've seen it happen with other teams. We saw it happen at Cleveland with David Blatt. They let him go when he was 30-11 for Tyronn Lue. Stan Van Gundy was left during the season for Pat Riley. We've had cases like that. I mean, with 8 games to go in hockey, John Tortorella to go over the Las Vegas Knights coach. A team could be doing well, but sometimes they need that little next step. So Dolan, if they got, I'll tell you this, guys.
You got to remove the Riley one. Riley was the guy who fired
2-1 the Knicks to the Atlanta Hawks in the first round. I was thinking, if they're losing to Atlanta, they absolutely cannot run it back with this team. They can't. They've got to make one major impact move, major.
Now you don't.
And everyone would be available. Even Brunson would have been available to be traded. That's how I looked at it, had they gotten eliminated by the Hawks. Now, all this Giannis talk, heck no. How do you break this team up?
No.
I mean,
bring in another piece for the bench, and that's about it. That's all I'm doing with his team.
I mean, but let's say you do get a call from Milwaukee, and Giannis is available. How far would you go? Mitch Robinson, yes. Josh Hart, you wince over moving on from him. But if they wanted Robinson, Hart, and the number one, how could you say no to Giannis?
I'm going to say no. I agree with you, Keith. There's no way. First of all, you're coming off a championship, and you got a 3-core player that played in Villanova, and they're playing together now. That's a bit of a camaraderie there, and you have a championship to back that up. With the core player that you have, and you were dominant. So how much more dominant can you get by minusing some players that you have, your core players that you have now, and adding Giannis, who's older, and still going to be dominant, but he's a ball dominant too. So, and I don't think he and Jalen Brunson would be a good pairing, in my opinion.
But that's you, James. You soak in this championship and let it stay a while. Keith Engel, 1 year later, the Knicks are struggling next year. He's going to want guys out of there.
It's different when they're struggling. Hold on. That's not apples and oranges. You're talking about bringing back the chemistry that they have now, a championship chemistry. If they get off of their 500 in the middle of the season next year, well, then maybe you got to shake it up. So you can't have hindsight and say, well, Keith said we should keep this team together. Now he wants to break it up.
And it's not an anomaly either. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals with the same team last year. So why would you break that up? Why would you change that?
I'm not saying to break it up, but let me run this by you.
Also, one of the most dominant runs through the playoffs.
Would you agree with me that the Knicks at best are the the team most likely to win the NBA championship next season is going to be San Antonio 1, OKC 2, and maybe the Knicks 3rd. And if let's say the Celtics can't get discounted if they can make some deals, some adjustments. Even the Cavaliers, if they could somehow work out a deal, they get Giannis. Okay, but the point is, I'm feeling, if you're asking me for long-range prediction, I'm telling you that next season, I'm picking the San Antonio Spurs to beat the Knicks in the finals, to dethrone them next year and get their championship. And if somehow it's not San Antonio and an OKC's in the finals, OKC be favored over the Knicks. Things bounced right for the Knicks this year. It did. They earned their championship, but they're fortunate they didn't play OKC in the finals.
Maybe.
I'm going to have to give you some credit here. You had an epiphany and jumped off of the fence and went from San Antonio winning the finals to the Knicks. And I think, did you pick them in 5, I think?
It's 6. I analyzed it very carefully right before. When I picked San Antonio, I didn't in the beginning. I just thought, okay, maybe their time has come. They're like a year earlier than what they're going to be. But then I looked at the matchups, the toughness of the Knicks team, how they could maybe neutralize Wemby in certain ways. And then I thought the way the Knicks were playing, they would win it.
I'm going to have to buy you a saddle for your horse because you straddle very well, sir, all the time. And so I
emailed before the series. I wasn't hedging there. I analyzed it after, and I made it a point, sending you guys the email before the series that the Knicks, in 6 games, and talked about it on the show. And
For sure. Again, I do give you credit. And so with that said, I would have to agree with your assessment in regards to next year. I mean, just potential, who's going to win the finals. I mean, it could be, I would say San Antonio 1, OKC 2, and the New York Knicks 3. And there's nobody else. And you can take everybody else after that and just mix them up. I just couldn't.
This Spurs team, as it's constituted now, I don't think is a favorite to win next year. If this is a team that needs to make some moves on the offseason. The coach, unless he's a young coach, he was growing just like the team. I can kind of look past his transgressions in this series and blowing these. Any other coach is going to get.
He's a young coach. Let him get better, Mitch.
I'll give him a break, but they need some veteran presence on this team. That's not Fox, by the way. I said to Jack, and I might have said it on this show, I don't know. I think LeBron will be a great fit in San Antonio as far as a veteran presence. He'll step back. He'll defer to Wemby. He'll defer to Harper or whoever he's got to defer to. They need that.
I mentioned that in one of our debates before the season. Jack brought that up, and I said I thought that the Spurs would be a great team. I think it was last year.
If it's not LeBron, they need a veteran presence for a calming presence. So when they think they're melting down, they got nobody to turn to right now.
They'll be fine. They'll be a year older next year.
Yeah, this is going to be lingering in their minds.
So will Fox.
Yeah, better. And De'Aaron Fox is a very good player. I mean, he had a terrible series, but he's a very good player. And he's the type of player you don't want to get rid of. I got to remind you guys, the most disastrous finals performance of a big-time player was Magic Johnson in the mid-'80s against the Celtics. A complete meltdown. He was awful. And this was before social media. Next season, the Lakers win the championship, even though he wasn't the MVP. He played well. And then, and I don't have to say any more about Magic Johnson, of course, but I think the players are just going to grow together as a unit. Would LeBron help him? If LeBron goes there, let's be honest about it. You could see everyone say he's just chasing the rings and just wants to get up to Jordan's, number 6 or whatever. But I hope Knicks fans stoke this championship. You might not win another one the next 10, 15 years. Enjoy this one. Let it live for years.
It better not be 53 years.
You're trying to repeat, but let it live for years. Okay? It's happening. Enjoy it.
Hopefully none of us are here in 53 years. I probably wouldn't be.
No, I
wouldn't even understand.
Hold on.
I wouldn't even understand what's going on in 53 years.
Don't complain the next few years. At some point, this Knicks team is going to have to make a move, and you can't make a move with this beloved championship team unless, as I said, you somehow can get Giannis, and what you give up you feel would be absolutely worth it, a good deal for you. It's painful.
I got to disagree, though, Jack. I got to disagree with the fact that I need to be I should be happy with this and don't worry about ever winning for the foreseeable future. Why should I be happy? I want this team to win multiple championships. Fans want to win.
They're not a great team,
and don't get mad at me next year when I'm upset if they go out in the first round.
They're not a great team. If you look at this next
doesn't matter.
They're not a great team. I mean, they played great down the stretch again.
3 in the playoffs, 9 straight road wins.
Who is saying not a great team? You saying the Knicks aren't a great team?
They're a great team.
They're not a great team as great teams go. They just look at their personnel. Any championship team, you could make a case, they have this player, that player, how good they are. But whose roster would you rather have? The Knicks roster or San Antonio's roster going forward? You'd rather have San Antonio's with their young studs and Wemby.
Outside of Wemby and Harper, why would I want the rest of that roster over the Knicks roster?
Stephen Castle, you wouldn't want him. He
One basket last night.
The Knicks.
One basket last night in the biggest game of his life.
Okay, and you're going to hold it against him, an elite defender like that? He's going to be a going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty bad though, Jack. I mean,
this team blew big leads in 5 consecutive games.
That game 4 is going to be remembered. That changed my view on who was going to win the series immediately after. I said, Knicks are going to win this game.
Yeah.
And once they won, I said, it's over. This series is over. How do you bounce back from that? And to me, that everything falls on the coach. Yeah. You don't let your team shoot that many threes and you're missing in the second half and don't adjust at all. Come on. No.
You're not going to convince me this roster and the Spurs is head and shoulders better than the Knicks. It's just not.
No, they're better. They're young. These guys are going to get better. The Knicks are at their peak right now.
And I'm going to change. I'm going to change my picks. What you just mentioned. I forgot. Just that quick. OKC was without 2 of their star players against the Spurs in that finals. I mean, and so. Again, the best players. And so I'm going to stick with my pick. I'll switch that and I'll say OKC and then I'm going to say the Knicks and then I'll say the Spurs. I'll give it to you that way.
Okay, but when they had their star players and played the Spurs during the regular season, the Spurs.
It's the regular season, man. Come on.
OKC was up for those games because they wanted to make a statement and they couldn't make a statement because the Spurs were better. I mean, and the Spurs. Oh, listen, I give OKC. OKC's a heck of a team. Had they they would have matched up very well against the Knicks in the finals. You know, I would have picked them to beat the Knicks had they played them in the finals and had they been healthy at full strength.
Probably until the game started.
But going forward, OKC is going to have to. I bet OKC makes a move, an impact move, because they're going to have to do something to regain control against the Spurs, in the West. And maybe that'll be Giannis. Maybe there's going to be a deal with Chet Holmgren going to Milwaukee, part of a package. I could see that. And Hartenstein, they're probably not going to re-sign. They're probably losing him.
Probably, you're right.
Danny's with James here. Listen, OKC is not going away, as we talked about before.
No, they're not going. They're not going away. A team that. How many games did they win?
60.
They were the number 1 team. They were 60+ games, 65 or so.
OKC is going to be high impact team next year. Don't come back to me next year during the season and say, "Oh, look, OKC is 28-6." I wouldn't be surprised they get off to that type of start. I mean, they're a threat, but the problem with dealing with San Antonio is they're going to get better, guys. That's what the problem is. You're looking at San Antonio like they're at peak value now. OKC's as good as they're going to get. They're not going to get any
assumption, better. By the way.
And that's good enough to win NBA titles, how good they are now. San Antonio is going to get better. I don't give a darn. Stephen Castle had a disastrous game yesterday. He's a tremendous player him and Dylan Harper is going to be the best backcourt in the NBA.
And what if Wemby's as good as he's ever going to be? What if that's the case? It's possible.
He's got to get coached better. He's got to
put on some weight. He's got to put on some weight.
It's not like it's bad what he is. He's good, but he's not an all-time.
And his stamina needs to be a little bit better than it is too. But that's usually typical for a big man.
If I told you guys that Wemby, at the very least, since the time of Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, is the greatest defensive center. Let's call him a center when he's playing underneath at that time. Greatest defensive center since Russell and Chamberlain. You guys wouldn't argue with me, I don't think.
Not a bit.
Okay. And offensively, he's good enough. Do we need to count on Wemby to put up 35 points a game? I mean, maybe the scoring should come a little more from elsewhere.
I'm not saying he's not already good. I'm saying, what if this is as good as he gets offensively? This is as good as he gets. Then they need to improve elsewhere a lot if this is as good as he gets.
I think he's going to get better. I agree with Jack that he's going to get better because you look at people like Hakeem Olajuwon and LeBron James. They learn the moves. I think Tim Duncan was the old fundamental, but he had his moves already. I think once he learns some low post moves and different things like that, he'll be better. But I think the biggest thing is he needs to gain weight. He can't box. I mean, you say he was getting boxed out by guys. I mean, just offensive rebounds on the on the free throw last night by Mitch Robinson. I mean, that's because Wemby got boxed out. I mean, and he needs to be able to put on a little bit more weight than what he is, huh?
Conditioning as well. I don't know why this guy's winded in the middle of the first quarter. I don't understand why I'm watching this guy hands on his knees in the first quarter, like every game, it seems. And they pull him early a lot of times to give him a breather. I don't get it.
Why late in the game wasn't Wemby underneath the basket contesting shots? Then every time the Knicks waged a comeback, it wasn't because of long-range shooting. It's because they kept taking the ball to the hoop. They would Brunson yesterday would continuously take the ball to the hoop. Maybe Wemby should lay back a little bit when the Spurs have the ball on offense and be ready to drop back. Just
Maybe.
a thought. I mean, I would be a little more cautious when we got other guys who are going to score. But, Wemby wasn't getting back quick enough on defense late in the game because, obviously in part because he was fatigued.
To Danny's comment here, I believe it was Jack that said there would be no rivalry, not
I
James.
said that. Wait 1 second. I said if the Spurs had beaten the Knicks in the NBA championship, no, it's no rivalry. The Spurs clearly passed OKC, had that been the case. Clearly would have passed them. And
I believe it was a Western Conference championship, you said.
And like I also said beforehand, and I'll repeat what I already said, if the Spurs don't beat the Knicks and they didn't, then it's still a rivalry because the Spurs haven't won anything yet. They haven't won anything yet.
OKC's not known.
You could call it a rivalry because OKC won the championship a year ago and the Spurs haven't. So technically OKC is ahead of the Spurs in the big picture because they have their championship. Now the Knicks and what's a bigger rivalry now? Guys, let me ask the two of you this now, and that'll answer my question. Knicks and Spurs or OKC and Spurs? What is going to be a bigger rivalry that the NBA could push, the TV networks could push, and the fans are going to look more forward to?
OKC and the Spurs. The Knicks and Spurs won't play enough.
Get out of here. The Knicks and Spurs are going to be the big rivalry.
They play 2 games a year. That's it. They can't make a rivalry out of that. Unless they meet every year in the playoffs, like the Celtics and Lakers did. You're not going to be able to make that into a rivalry.
I was about to say, when Jordan was playing in the 90s, who was his biggest rival? It was New York and Detroit. Forgive me. But it was all Eastern Conference. It was right. Eastern Conference.
Right.
It wasn't anybody on the opposite side. And so I just think, I agree with Keith here. It still would be OKC versus.
The New York perception it was the Chicago Bulls. From the New York perception. From the Chicago perception, it was the Pistons, Right. It depends for the OKC fan base. Yeah, that's going to be a rivalry for their fan base. We got to, regain what we had. We have to get by these guys. We're dismissing other teams, fellas. I mean, the Minnesota Timberwolves, could they finally put it all together? Is it possible finally?
They got one guy. They got one player that can play on either one of these teams.
And the X factor who's going to make someone an instant impact team if they make the right deal is going to be for Giannis. Where might Giannis wind up?
Well, I'll tell you, I got a feeling I have this feeling about Dallas and Giannis. I don't know why, but I do.
Are they going to give up for him?
I don't know. I can't tell you that.
I don't think Milwaukee goes Kyrie. I think he's
Kyrie Irving, maybe.
I think Giannis winds up with the Cleveland Cavaliers because they'll give them both Allen and Mobley together and whatever else.
Well, in what world are we living in where an Eastern Conference rival is going to give their best player to somebody that they have to face in the playoffs? There's no way.
They'll get in a superstar. That's why.
Maybe that's why Harden had a gun in the airport. He was going to take him to Cleveland.
Listen, guys. It was a misdemeanor. Harden was recognized. He put up $100 in bond.
He's carried a loaded gun in an airport.
I mean, that he. Come on.
They're knuckleheads. I mean, these guys. Come on. How smart? How stupid do you have to be to do that? It just tells you all you need to know about some of these guys. That guy specifically. Anyway, I digress. And Danny will concur that OKC and San Antonio, just because of proximity and the fact that they're going to play five.
I understand. No, I understand that factor. But when the Spurs are matched up against OKC, it's not going to be as big as when they're matched up against the Knicks. When they match up against the Knicks again, that's going to be such a big game. That's going to be all over the news. That's going to be off the charts. It's when they match up OKC in San Antonio. Yeah, it's a great game. It's a great game.
Next year, though,
it won't have the same buzz.
You can only sell that for 1 year unless they meet again in the finals next year. So you can only sell that one time.
It's probably going to be a Christmas game. Maybe it'll be a Christmas game.
Yeah, probably will be. Anyway, just listen. At the end of the day, Knicks, tremendous. One of the great playoff runs of all time. I'm sorry. I don't care who they played, what they did. I mean, they were dominant until they got to San Antonio. And I can say they were dominant there because they didn't show up until – 30 minutes into the game half the time. So
when you're thinking of the thin line, the Spurs could have won this series. I mean, you hit a couple of having two last possessions. Yesterday's game, that was even a nail bite. Mikal Bridges goes to the foul line, with 8 seconds, 7.5 seconds, and then misses up by 3, and he misses the first foul shot. And I'm thinking, you missed the second one. San Antonio hits a 3. They win in overtime. And imagine they go on to win the series. You talk about, you have the championship in your grasp, and you somehow could let it get away, but it didn't happen. And
if ifs were fifths, we'd all be tipsy and drunk.
This is the second biggest New York championship that as far as creating impact buzz that I saw in my lifetime, because of social media in part. There was no social media in 1969, but the Mets was bigger than this, clearly bigger than this.
100%.
Miracle Mets, Keith could vouch, clearly bigger. But this is bigger than any of the Yankee championships, bigger than the New York Football Giant championship, what it means to New York and all.
Is it bigger than the Jets championship? I'm curious. I'm serious.
The Jets championship came as a jolt out of nowhere. Like what to a lot of people? That's because there was one game and they weren't expected to win.
A very important game as it was for the NFL.
Yeah, I'm talking about the buzz it created in the city. This Knicks buzz. It's like built.
That's fair.
And Joe Namath's his claim to win as well. So
I'm not talking what's more important. Believe me, I wish I could say it was the Jets. I'm talking about the buzz. We're living in different eras, so maybe it's not fair to complain. But watching New York City was in more of a frenzy over the '69 Mets than they are this. But also, New York City's in more of a frenzy over this Knicks team than they were in any of the Yankee Giants, etc. The Rangers came somewhat close. The Rangers in '94.
A couple of times. Yeah. Although it's 94. Right. And I would agree that it's bigger than any of those giant wins over the Patriots. Jeez, nobody cares about those games. Before we wrap up here today, we do have some other news. Let's just touch on a couple other things. NHL, Carolina's got a 3-2 lead going into tonight. Vegas will be without Carlson tonight, which is a big cog there. And I would say that Bussy will play goaltender again tonight, playing goal tonight for the Canes, and Anderson will still be on the bench because he's played very well since he took over in Game 3. Vegas, Jack had a great line the other night talking about Tortorella leaving his clothes in Carolina. I thought that was awesome. I hadn't actually read that quote until Jack told me that morning, and I think it's awesome that he said, I'm leaving my stuff in Carolina because he expects to be back. Vegas going to get to Carolina? I think they do. I think you got a Game 7 on Wednesday night.
Yeah,
I picked Carolina. I picked Carolina in 7. I'm just going to say that. I'll leave it to Jack.
You're just scared of Sonya, so that I don't know if I can really take that.
Yeah, picking Busty. I mean, putting Busty in goal. I mean, it was a gutsy move by Carolina there.
Very.
But I'm scheduled to do a show with Sonya 9 o'clock on Wednesday. I mean, if there's a 7th game, that's when it's going to be played. It's going to be going on. I mean, maybe she should cancel the show. But let's see what happens tonight, in Game 6.
And James was on time this morning, Danny. I can confirm that for sure. No fines or anything today. So.
For a few minutes there, Danny.
We should pull a Tom Coughlin on James. You come 5 minutes early, you get fined.
Is it good for the NHL, by the way, to stay on this topic for just a second? Is it good for the NHL? I think it is, obviously, that now the NBA's done. They got 2 games free of the NBA. Today's a little murky because we got the aftermath of last night. But they get the stage all to themselves for Game 6 and 7. And
they got no stage to themselves. The World Cup is going in soccer.
Well, that's fair.
That's what the public is into.
That's fair. So I'm getting crushed. I mean, again, we talked about the ratings for the NBA Finals, and we'll see what they are when it's all said and done. But they've been huge. They've been about 100% increase over last year, and higher than some of the higher rated ones recently, which again are lower than they were years ago. But the NHL is just getting crushed. I mean, 3-4 million viewers compared to 16 and 17 for the NBA.
I mean, it's more it's more popular, and hockey hasn't really found its way into the inner cities of New York. It could find its way more if you let kids play in parks, and you could supply sticks and pucks and all in the net.
And in the South region, some ice.
Right. Guys, I was watching a little of the United Football League's championship game yesterday, and I haven't followed it during the season. I've watched a little bit, and I didn't even realize it was a championship game until Joe Tessitore kept repeating it was a championship game. And I started watching the second half, and Louisville beat Washington to win the championship. But there's one play that I didn't realize, one rule change, that James is open-minded enough to support, even though you're not as open-minded. I don't think a field goal from 60 yards out counts for 4 points. And one of the players on Washington, he kicks one from 61 yards. So they were down 11 points, and that cut it to 7. I love that new rule.
Field goals
I love it.
I got to agree with Keith. Come on, it should be 3 points no matter what.
Then you and Keith, James, when the ABA, if you guys were around when the ABA came into existence, you would have thought the 3-point shot was ridiculous.
No, I disagree with that. I think that's different, because the only reason why I think it's different, because it's still basketball and you're shooting the ball, but when you're kicking, not many guys could shoot the 3-pointers too back then. So it was a bit of an anomaly when you're shooting a 3-pointer. But now, when you look at guys, they're shooting 3-point all over the place. So it's kind of like an embarrassment now to shoot 3-pointers, because it's boring. Everybody shoots it. But kicking, almost everybody can kick from 60, Jack. You're doing it in the NFL. Everybody can kick from 60. It doesn't make a difference. So you're going to do it in a league that's a lesser league, and you're going to give it more points? I think it's just a gimmick.
It's a hard field goal to make, very hard from 60 yards out. But whatever.
For us.
Yeah, for you and me and James, yes. Not for those guys. Those guys are making it routinely. They need to make kicks harder. You want to change the rules, make the goalpost not as wide or something. I mean, I don't know what, but I don't remember speaking in a third person today, but
Hey, can I give a I don't know if you can bring it up, but Alden Smith. He passed away. Alden Smith. Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to his family, and what a waste of talent and unfortunate part of his life. He just had a lot of demons he was dealing with, and off the field, and what greatness could have been there. I mean, 7th overall out of Missouri for 49ers in 2011. It's their sack leaders, single season sack leader. I just saw a lot of greatness there. Unfortunately, he just couldn't come to fruition because of his personal demons. And I hope he's resting in peace right now, man, because he didn't have the stuff he didn't have on earth. Is just pretty sad.
Very sad. Our thoughts and prayers do go to his friends and family for sure. It's again, there's too many of these stories, not just in sports but everywhere, right? I mean, they're much more visible, obviously, when it comes to the sports world or celebrities, but it's bad everywhere when it comes to that type of thing. He was an All-Pro one year, wasn't he? Yeah, I thought so. Great player. Too bad. Let me real quick before we go. Stefon Diggs had his case closed by the NFL this week as far as any inappropriate behavior, I guess. But where's he going to land? He's going to get a team, I would think. Here.
I think he's looking at the Baltimore Ravens, when I'm not mistaken. I don't know if I don't know if that's a rumor or not, but
I've heard him with the Raiders. I've heard him back with the Patriots. I've heard him back to the Bills. I've heard him everywhere, it seems. But do we have an opinion on where he might end up? You think the Ravens, James?
Potentially, I'm just not sure. I just saw that out there. I don't think that'd be a bad option for another pass catcher, for a sure-handed pass catcher for Lamar Jackson. But wherever he goes, I just hope he's, don't let trouble follow him, whatever the situation is, because he still has something to give for a team. I think he can still give you 70, 80 receptions, 1,000 yards, and maybe 8 touchdowns. That's good for any team.
I think teams are going to be leery of him, not so much because of his off-the-field issues. It's because he might be high maintenance where he goes. Look, he forced his way out of Minnesota. He went to Buffalo. Reportedly, I should say, or even probably, he had some discontent with Josh Allen. They're not on the same page, and you can't mess around with a superstar quarterback. You're always going to be a loser if you're a receiver. And as far as perception, at New England, supposedly it worked out. But if it worked out at New England, why isn't he back there?
Because of the off-the-field issues.
Well, I think it's also the money, and they had better options. A.J. Brown, I want A.J. Brown right today more than I want Stefon.
I do too. But if OBJ, who seems to be on his last legs, could come back to the Giants, and he's probably going to make the team. Stefon Diggs, I think, is better than OBJ at this point.
Probably.
So, I mean, some teams should be able to use him, but can he accept his role? That's the question. Can he accept his role?
I don't think
he wouldn't go to that team, though. They're crowded already now in receivers. It's just too many players, too many receivers, which is a good problem to have.
I think he's better than those guys.
His role is not being the number one receiver, going somewhere.
I think he knows he's not going to be a number one receiver, and he will be on his best behavior because he's always on his best behavior year one. And he wasn't a locker room problem with the Patriots last year. I think if anything scares him away, it's the way he had a good regular season, but he disappeared in the playoffs. Now, part of that was because of the problems the Patriots had on the offensive line and Drake May being able to throw the football, but he wasn't very visible through the entire playoff.
I'll tell you a good place for him would be the Kansas City Chiefs. Because of their leadership there, he wouldn't come in and try to make any waves. He would try to fit in to a team like that.
I actually like that fit a lot.
Yeah.
Mahomes and the Chiefs, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, great job today. Brian will be back next week, and we made it work without the regular opening, and I put in some really.
Whoa. You're saying we could win without Brian? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, my goodness.
I said we made it work.
What he said, Brian.
Place it. We just made it work. That's all. I do appreciate your guys' efforts today, and everybody for tuning in and participating. And I'll see you in just a minute on the Sunday Stream of Consciousness. Thanks, James. Thanks, Jack. And Jack, I'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks to the people who tuned in.
We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.